Imagine a sky blackened with smoke and the endless roar of gunfire. In the fading moments of a life filled with promise, a young man named Aoki Kenji finds himself in a cockpit, hurtling toward a target, the flat deck of an American aircraft carrier. As the tracer fire streaks past, each flash a reminder of impending doom, he feels the weight of his mission pressing heavily upon him. This is not just a strike. This is a final act of defiance for a nation on the brink of collapse. Kenji, only 21 and fresh from university, has been transformed into a living weapon, one of thousands of kamikaze pilots willing to sacrifice everything for their emperor and their homeland. But how did a bright young man end up soaring through a wall of gunfire, fully aware he wouldn't return? This compelling story reveals the harrowing journey of Kenji and his comrades, driven not only by duty, but by a complex web of tradition, honor, and desperation woven into the fabric of Japanese culture. From the rituals and oaths that define their final moments to the brutal realities of war, we will explore Kenji's story, a powerful reflection on sacrifice and the harsh truths of conflict. As we dive into the life of Aoki Kenji and the events that led to his fateful flight, we uncover the extraordinary courage and tragedy surrounding the kamikaze attacks during World War II. This tale will not only illuminate a critical moment in history, but also challenge our understanding of duty, honor, and what it means to fight for one's country. Join us as we honor the memories of those young men who soared into the storm, forever etched in history as symbols of loyalty and sacrifice. Smoke fills the sky. The cockpit rattles as if it's on the verge of coming apart. Tracer fire streaks past, the wings red, white, and orange lines tearing upward toward him. Aoki Kenji grips the control stick tightly with both hands, forcing his Zero into a steep dive. Below him, the flat, unmistakable deck of an American aircraft carrier grows larger with every passing second. He has one job: hit the ship. He has one chance and only seconds left to fulfill his fatal destiny. His shoulder burns painfully. Something hit him earlier, perhaps shrapnel, maybe a bullet? But he ignores the sharp sensation, focusing entirely on his mission. As the nose of his plane drops, the engine screams in protest, and the airframe shakes violently, as if desperately trying to tear itself free. Yet this moment of chaos didn't begin with the dive, the smoke, or the incoming flak. It started hours earlier, filled with rituals and the knowledge of impending doom. Asterisk before the flight asterisk, Aoki Kenji tied a white hachimaki headband atop his brow, a symbol deeply rooted in samurai tradition. He wrapped a 1,000-stitch belt around his waist, hand-sewn by loved ones, every stitch meant to bring protection, even in a mission where no one was meant to return. Some pilots took it a step further, carrying katanas not for combat, but as symbols of their connection to Japan's storied warrior past. In the dim hours before dawn, Aoki, along with his fellow pilots, shared one last cup of sake and a final meal of simple rice. Then he climbed into the cockpit, a cockpit designed for takeoff but not for landing. What few realize about kamikaze training is that it seldom covered the return journey. After all, what was the point? Resources, time, and equipment were too scarce to waste on things like safety and landing protocol. The training prepared them to ascend into the skies, fly toward their target, and dive. That was all they needed. Now, mid-dive, Aoki's plane has become more than just an aircraft. It's a weapon of war. A 550-pound bomb is strapped beneath the fuselage, and he no longer sees himself as a pilot. He is now the guidance system for a flying explosive. Around him, explosions pop like black flowers against the horizon. American gunners unleash every weapon they have: 20 millimeters, 40 millimeters, and even massive 5-inch guns designed for naval combat. Their shells are equipped with proximity fuses, tiny detectors that detonate when close to a plane. A direct hit isn't necessary, merely getting close will suffice. Yet there is no shortage of explosions. Planes around him are falling from the sky, comrades spiraling into the ocean long before they reach their targets. But even amid the chaos and despair, he continues the dive. But how did a 21-year-old university graduate find himself here, soaring through a barrage of gunfire with no intention of coming back? To understand that, we must pull back from the smoke and flak rising in his windshield and return to where it all began. Asterisk Japan is collapsing. Asterisk years of war have drained its strength, leaving the once mighty Imperial Navy scattered across the ocean floor. Its air force is now but a shadow of its former power. The Americans are advancing relentlessly, island by island, and now the battle for Okinawa is underway, making the home islands feel terrifyingly close to invasion. In this moment of desperation, Japan resorts to a new weapon, the Special Attack Units. History remembers them by another name, Kamikaze. Aoki Kenji, much like many young men of his generation, grew up surrounded by strict discipline and an unwavering cultural reverence for the emperor. Loyalty to the nation was not only expected but taught as the highest virtue. Sacrificing oneself for the greater good of the country was seen as honorable, even glorious. When Aoki volunteers, he genuinely believes he is doing the right thing, the honorable thing. He becomes part of a mission that he hopes might help Japan endure just a little longer. Before joining the operation, Aoki reflects on a 5-point oath he once swore. 1. Loyalty is your obligation. 2. Propriety is your way of life. 3. You must esteem military valor. 4. You must prize righteousness. 5. You must live simply. As he ties the final knot in his headband, he hopes he has lived up to these principles. Then he writes a final letter home to his parents. In it, he reassures them not to worry. He tells them he is fulfilling his duty to the empire and urges them to feel proud of his sacrifice, though his parents will never read it again. Deep down, he knows that Japan's culture, steeped in the traditions of the samurai, taught that dying with honor was far preferable to living with the shame of failure. Throughout the war, American soldiers had faced bonsai charges, last desperate swells of attack where survival was never the goal. The Kamikaze would become the ultimate bonsai attack. Aoki's aircraft for this final mission is the Mitsubishi A6M0, once the jewel of Japanese aviation. By this point in the war, it is hopelessly outdated and badly outmatched by American Hellcats and Corsairs. Japan has so few planes left that even damaged models or training aircraft serve as kamikaze tools. Some planes are even built specifically for suicide missions, like the Aka, or Cherry Blossom, a rocket-propelled, human-guided bomb. Aoki has heard legends surrounding these machines, but has never seen one, something he considers a small blessing at this moment. However, he has noticed that not every Kamikaze pilot is as willing as he seems. Although all are officially volunteers, many are subtly coerced by classmates, commanders, or overarching societal pressures. But ultimately, there isn't time to dwell on these thoughts. As Japan falls away behind him, he imagines cherry blossoms beautiful, fleeting, ephemeral, just like him. The squadron turns southward toward Okinawa, their goal singular: destroy American ships and raise the cost of invasion to a point where perhaps the United States might seek peace. The squadron scans the ocean for what seems like an eternity, eyes peeled for any sign of the enemy, waiting for a moment that could change everything. The outer ring consists of combat air patrol, fighter planes endlessly circling high above. The middle ring comprises destroyers and picket ships, fast and radar-equipped. Finally, the inner ring is made up of battleships, cruisers, and the prized carriers that lie at the heart of the fleet. The first ship Aoki sees is one of these picket destroyers, and it immediately opens fire. Flak bursts around him as his squadron presses onward. Aoki's target lies beyond it, and he must reach that carrier. The destroyer sends out a radio alert of their position. Guns across the battlefield awaken, erupting in a chaotic symphony of destruction. Shells burst in every direction, and Aoki's plane is struck again. Though his shoulder jolts with agony, he bansish, ease the pain as he forces the Zero onward. With determination, he breaks through the first defensive ring and manages to crack through the second. In the distance, he finally catches sight of his target, the flat gray deck of an American aircraft carrier. This is his moment. The sky around him transforms. It becomes a storm of metal, filled with violent tracers burning upwards. Shells detonate all around him, throwing up clouds of smoke. For a heartbeat, the carrier's deck consumes his entire vision. Too many emotions wreath his mind: fear, doubt, love, anger. With all of that swirling chaos, he pushes the stick forward, plunging downward into the depths of the heart of the enemy. And then everything goes black. In that instant, Aoki Kenji becomes just one of nearly 4,000 kamikaze pilots who will perish in the final months of World War II. Their lethal attacks will claim thousands of American lives, including many during the battle for Okinawa, the deadliest engagement the U.S. Navy would ever face. Japan will not fall victim to invasion, but will instead succumb to an even more devastating end.